forward to this moment.
Thank you so much for that.
To present to you the findings of the pulse of the fashion industry that we've worked really hard on for the last 4 months. I hope you all get a copy of this report.
Worked out perfectly.
So the report is really a collaborative effort between the Boston Consulting Group and the Global Fashion Agenda. And the idea behind this second edition, also the idea behind the first edition, is to have a much more qualified dialogue about the performance of the industry. So not only being able to say that some parts of the industry is doing well, but also to really look harder at where is it the industry needs to improve. So that's what we did last year, that's what we've done this year. But we also listened to you in the room and the CEOs we spoke to, that there was a strong call for guidance. A lot of industry really wanted to get moving, but said, this is pretty hard, it's complicated, there's a long value chain, how do we get started? So in this year's edition of the report, we also provide that guidance. But Sebastian, first maybe you can give us some of the key insights of the 2018 edition of the Pulse of the Fashion Industry.
Sure, and let's start with the good news. 2017 was, in our opinion, a turning point for sustainability in this industry. Over 75% of all players in this industry have improved their Pulse score. That's pretty impressive. In addition to that, we are hearing that the topic is climbing up the CEO agenda. Over 50% of all senior executives we spoke to confirmed that sustainability, environmental and social issues are getting more and more part of how they do daily business. That's pretty encouraging. And as a result, the Pulse is up by 6 percentage points within just 1 year.
Within just 1 year, but going from a pretty low stage of 32 to 38, how do you rate that achievement?
That's certainly true, but we shouldn't forget when we started working on the 2018 Pulse, we expected a much lesser increase, and 6 percentage points are encouraging. Especially companies of the mid-price segment, and there especially the small and medium-sized companies, have really caught up and started to implement proven best practices. This is what we asked them last year to do, and they followed. That's very encouraging. However, having said that, a Pulse, and we can't say it loud enough, a Pulse of 38 out of 100 is not enough. This is not enough to consider this industry being a good industry.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if 38 out of 100, that was the test result of a wine, would you drink that, Sebastian?
That's actually a good question. And I most likely would not enjoy a wine scoring as low as 38. But similar to the wine industry, also in this industry, there's a wide spread in performance. If you look at the performance by company clusters, by price point, by step in the value chain, you see a huge spread. And we shouldn't forget about the front runners, of which we have companies from the luxury industry, from the sporting goods industry, but also giant high street fashion players that are enjoying scores of 80 points and even higher. They have shown us that there is a path to a better fashion industry. At the same time, we have to say that progress does not go fast nor far enough. It doesn't go fast enough because there is still a big portion of this industry that hasn't addressed the issue yet. In this year's report, we are saying that 30% of this industry has not yet taken any action. And it doesn't go far enough because many of the activities we see are still focusing on incremental changes, on improving this existing linear value chain. That won't be the solution. This industry requires new technology, bigger and bolder moves, and a full commitment to go out of this existing system. A good example is the end-of-use phase, which you also criticized last year. There are issues in this phase, like the recycling of blended garments, that are not yet solved and require this industry to conduct a joint effort.
Can you speak more? Because we not only do we measure how the progress is on different segments, different price points, we also look at the whole value chain. And as you said, some parts of the value chain really didn't move last year. Is that any different in the 2018 edition?
We see a similar pattern than last year, that there are two sorts of steps in the value chain. There are steps in the value chain that are performing relatively well compared to others. Reasons being that they either had media spotlight and therefore fashion companies really needed to improve their practices there, or existing solutions are already available, can be implemented by individual companies, and in most instances have even a positive business case. And it's encouraging that compared to last year, more companies are trying to follow the front runners and implement those best practices. On the flip side, we see still a lot of steps in this value chain that are enjoying relatively low scores. Examples are design and development and end of use. We've pointed them out last year as areas where this industry has to focus on and invest in. And we're seeing in this year's Pulse scores that those steps are already enjoying slightly better scores. That's pretty encouraging. However, when talking to the key players in this industry, we realized that this was only a start. They have put targets in place, they have invested in startups that might be able to come up with solutions for those steps, and they have starting to collect garments. That's all very encouraging, but it's not enough. It doesn't bring us far away, and it doesn't bring us to a closed-loop system where people, companies, and planet can flourish together.
But if you take all that aside, and you can say that's semi-good, 38 and 6 points increase, we still have 30% of the industry not moving. So it's down from 50, but it's still, I mean, what are your words on 30% of the industry not really moving?
It's actually a good point, and you can look at this number from two perspectives. From a glass is half full perspective, I'm happy to see that this number has been drastically reduced compared to last year. When we were standing on this stage last year, the number was 50%. And that's a pretty significant reduction. However, 30% is still too much. And when talking to those mainly small and medium-sized companies, we are hearing that they require help and guidance from the frontrunners, from people like us, because they find it very difficult to get started, to define a meaningful and impactful sustainability journey for their company. And that was one of the focused areas of this year's Pulse report. We wanted to collect proven best practices and put them in a framework that we call Roadmap to Scale, in order to also help those parts of the industry that have not yet embarked on the sustainability journey. However, Morten, an organization like GFA, how can help you, those industry segments, to get started, to embark on a journey to a better fashion industry?
Yeah, we just heard from the previous presentation, this is a matter of leadership. So what we did, as I mentioned earlier, is we listened to what was said. We've talked to a lot of CEOs, leaders in the industry, and we've heard that call for guidance. So what we did a couple of months ago, we launched the CEO agenda. So we're trying to really get the 30% or so to act. So in the CEO agenda, we have 7 priorities. 3 of these priorities are solutions that are proven that you can start implementing right away. The 4 others are looking more into the future. They are transformational. These are areas where, as a CEO, you need to be aware of them. These are things where we need solutions, but often one company cannot do it alone. You need to work together. So we have these priorities, and what we did then, we put them into the machinery of the whole Pulse Fashion and the BCG thing, and we came up with actually in the Pulse of the fashion industry performance on these priorities, not only the performance, but also guidance on how can you move along on these priorities. So that means that today, even if you're a company just starting out on your sustainability journey, or if you're a very progressed company that is very mature, you can find guidance in the Pulse of the fashion industry. So I would claim that this year there is no excuse, at least there's no good excuse anymore for not to getting started on the sustainability journey.
But Morten, very concretely, what kind of guidance does the roadmap provide, and what should companies do with the 2018 report?
So the guidance is that a part of the process of writing such a big report is, of course, talking to a lot of thought leaders, a lot of experienced people in the field of sustainability and business models. So what we have in the report are actually cases, examples for any company to be able to find solutions that actually match their level of progress on sustainability. So it is really a roadmap for you as a company to get started on your sustainability journey. Sebastian, but what we're also seeing, we talk about the 30% that are not moving, but we also face another challenge. The companies that are really leading the way, that are showing the rest of the industry how to move, they're seeing that actually their progress is flattening. It's becoming increasingly difficult for them to progress. Can you shed some light on what needs to happen for them to be able to keep on leading the industry?
I mean, as illustrated in the pulse curve, and I guess it's right behind me, we see currently a two-speed world. Many of the companies in this industry are still working on implementing existing proving solutions. That's definitely very encouraging and the right thing to do, but at the same time, we all know that this won't be enough. This won't deliver the required impact to really move the needle. And therefore, we need more front runners and also, ideally, people from outside this industry challenging the business model of this industry and helping us with more disruptive solutions, new ways of looking at this business, and solutions that can really significantly change the trajectory of the industry. In addition to that, sustainability is, in our opinion, still treated too much as an isolated topic in fashion companies. The topic has to become part of the broader innovation agenda. It's not separate from the rest of the business. And companies have to come up with superior value propositions for consumers, of which sustainability is one element. It has to be built in what we deliver to our consumers.
So we've heard about where progress needs to be made, we've heard about guidance, but if I put myself in the shoes of a CEO, I need to know about the business case. And we have calculated the business case. Last year we calculated it for not taking action. This year we're actually calculating the business case for taking action. It shows an improvement of 1 to 2 EBIT points by 2030. But if I'm a fashion industry director, I can think about my short-sighted investors, the quarterly reports, and maybe I can think 1 year ahead to the next collection. Why should that get me excited?
It's important to note that sustainability is already good business today. We have spoken to 50+ industry executives, collected numerous examples, and they all prove that the measures they've put in place have delivered a positive return for those companies. So that excuse doesn't count anymore. There is a positive business case. In addition to that, we also conducted a more holistic exercise and tried to estimate what the impact for an average fashion company would be if they would follow our roadmap to scale. And according to our numbers, the EBIT impact would be between 1% and 2%. That's pretty significant in an industry like we are in.
It is. What about the future? In the last part of the report, we devote a chapter to the future. If I look back 20, 30 years, besides outsourcing, and then more recently at least, e-commerce, I haven't really seen any big disruptions. It's now like we think it's going to happen, but what will the fashion industry look like 5 years from now?
If I would know that, I wouldn't stand here. I would sort of start working on it and hopefully earning a lot of money with it. But yeah, let me answer your question. It's really hard to predict how the fashion industry will look like in the future. There are many trends coming up, and we see a lot of technology already making this industry a better place. However, it's only trends. Nothing has been scaled and deployed at a viable business case yet. But we're seeing 3 emerging trends. One is fashion as a service, smart fashion, and instant fashion. And how cool would it be if we two decide now that in an hour from now we want to wear a different outfit?
So we switch jackets?
No, we would go out there and sort of get an outfit out of a 3D printer, ideally fully sustainable.
That would be pretty cool. Finally, maybe I should speak a little bit about, we speak so much about collaboration. We speak about the fact that we need the whole ecosystem working. So a question could be, so how can different stakeholders use this year's report? And I think, first of all, one of the main conclusions is we will not move without not only the industry moving, but the whole bigger industry. I think for the NGOs, if we should call out one, how they can use the report is really to know more about is what is it they can demand for companies, to be more precise on here there are actually solutions that can be implemented right away. So they can actually demand that of the companies to get started. But maybe they can also appreciate that there are solutions where they can demand of the companies to start collaborating with the bigger ecosystem. For some of the other players, the investors, the regulators, I mean, the strong case in the report is really start working together. Not only for the front runners, but for the whole industry, we need everything to work together to raise the pulse of the fashion industry. But enough now from you, Sebastian, and let's now call up the real heroes of the industry. We have invited the two CEOs to join us here on stage. They're both equally committed to sustainability, but they have taken very different journeys to get to where they are. So welcome on stage the CEO of Designers Remix, Niels Eskildsen, and the CEO of Outerknown, Mark Walker. A warm welcome to both of you.
Hey, good to see you.
Welcome, Niels. So
Thanks.
We'll start with you and Designers Remix. Can you find your spot up there on the pulse curve, which has these different phases?
I can, Morten, but first of all, I would like to say thank you, Sebastian, thank you, Morten, for inviting me up here. When you called, there was no doubt that I was really honored that I could stand up here and share my experience with all these fantastic people down here. I even put on my best suit, but I got a little bit disappointed when I then talked to you, and the reason why you wanted me on stage was actually to have a showcase about how you can go the wrong way on the pulse curve. So yes, I can show you, but to give you an explanation about that is that, well, I come from Designers Remix. Designers Remix is a Danish fashion brand based here in Copenhagen. We've been around for 16 years. And as the name implied, we actually started out remixing other designers' clothes. So in 2002, we were gathering all kind of old clothes, sewing it around, and all these kinds of things. So that was basically before the whole, well, at least to my knowledge, the whole concept about sustainability and circularity. It wasn't something that we were thinking about. But down the road, since we didn't have a clear vision, and Mark and his team has clear vision, we didn't have a clear vision. We just wanted to make some nice clothes. We kind of, filtered through and became a normal collection, not thinking about sustainability. So basically, we moved from that end down to this pre-phase where we were fiddling around for 10, 12 years. And of course, we were thinking about, because what you says here is that you do occasionally sustainable stuff, but not a lot. So we were here. We started to think, well, is it the right place to be? And also being a part of this Fashion Summit for many years, of course, we thought, well, we could do better. And the major point for us was last year, where we had the opportunity to meet Eileen Fisher, fantastic woman. And she told us, well, you did that 16 years ago. Well, there you were, first mover. Why did you stop? So Charlotte, my wife, and I, we sat down and said, well, we want to go back. We want to go back and be sustainable champions again. So where we are right now, I would say probably around here, at the end of phase one. And what did we do in this year to achieve where we are from being in pre-phase to here is that we started out basically empowering the team. And since we're a small brand, we said, well, we're not going to put in a team in place. 3 people, then it's going to be messed around. The designers are not going to trust them. So we said, why not empower everybody? So we said, well, we know that we have not been built as sustainable, but we need to change to be sustainable. So that was the first thing. I think if you don't empower, then it's not going to work. The second thing is that we went in and evaluated our whole supply chain and value chain. Everything, so that we knew, where can we make a difference? And then we started to prioritize. And of course, what we did prioritize about was mainly supply evaluation, it was transparency, and it was material mix. So those were the key things that we said we needed to focus on to move up this curve that we didn't even know was there, because that's a year ago. And where are we now? It's like, well, this summer, actually, we're going to be 100% transparent on our Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. On this autumn-winter collection, 30% of the collection will be made out of sustainable fabrics. 50% will be made out of monofibers. And lastly, we actually, I think it's 9 months ago, we started a take-back scheme in all of our stores and on our online shop as well, so people can return old Designers Remix clothes. And actually, we started to went back to where it all started. So we also made a small subline called Pre-Loved, where we are actually redesigning old Designers Remix. So that's we found it a kind of niche when we started out remixing other designers. We can actually start remixing our own design. So we should call it Designers Remix. I don't know, but something like that. So that's where we are now.
Fantastic, Niels. Thanks a lot. I mean, I know that Niels was not super excited about the reason why I wanted him on stage, but seriously, we need companies who are not perfect to take the stage and encourage all the players who have not started to see that it's okay to be on stage saying, we're not perfect, we're committed, this is our way, this is how we're moving. But Mark, you have a slightly different path towards your sustainability. Can you find your spot on the pulse curve? No, you can't do that.
We fall in between phase 2 and phase 3. For those of you that don't know Outerknown's an LA-based company, and honestly, especially after being here for the last day and a half, I am definitely one of the luckiest guys in the world. After 20 years in retail, manufacturing clothes, I get up every day and I'm the CEO of a company who, the reason the company was founded was to do it differently and to do it the right way. So from even before the first product was designed or sold, a 3-year sustainability framework was put in place. We have ownership and leadership support that guides it. We have a framework in place. Honestly, for us now, the goal is just to scale the business and to show that it can be successful and that it can grow and it can be big. Our mantra right now is for people and planet. We focus as much on the social as we focus on the environmental. Sometimes you get a company that will focus on one more than the other, but we're really excited about where we sit right now. I have to give a lot of credit to people. I've been with the company for about a year and a half. The company is having its 3rd birthday this year, and a lot of really hard work was done by Kelly and the team even before I got there.
Cool, thanks, Mark. Niels, or both of you, we've heard, and you see that in the report, that you have different challenges depending on in which phase you are. Niels, maybe you can tell us a little about the challenges you have to move further towards Mark.
Well, you have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's of course an extremely exciting journey that you're on. When I can't tell everybody, but as there was one yesterday saying this is actually the wrong crowd because you need to somebody who's not starting.
Yeah.
But when you start the journey, you really get really passionate about it. But the problem is you sometimes feel that you're going on this journey and you've packed the wrong suitcases and you definitely have too much overweight. It's a really complex thing because when we start diving into it, we have built up this supplier partnership for the last 16 years, and we went out to our suppliers and we said, well, we would like to move in this direction. This is our strategy, and we found out that we basically had to change in order to get where we want to be. We had to change the entire supply chain. And sometimes, Charlotte was saying to me, well, why don't we just start a new brand? Because it's actually much easier than to convert an existing one. It's not easy to start a new brand, not at all, but it's definitely very, very complex here. And also for the whole product team, when they've been used to having the whole kind of fabric buffet that they can choose from, one a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then suddenly they're ending up here, can get a little corner with a dry bread and some jam. It's really, really complicated to get this moving. So I think, but of course, our ambition is that we need to change the supply chain. We need to find the suppliers that can take us on the journey that we want to be on. And of course, our journey is that we don't think 5 years ahead. We think only we have 2020, so it's 2 years ahead, and we want to be markets. God damn it, So we want to be over here.
But you think you will come there eating dry bread and jam?
I'm pretty sure. I think when you see what we have achieved in 1 year, I'm definitely sure. Well, I have 2.5, because if I take 2020 all the way to the 31st of December, then I have 2.5 years. I'm pretty sure we can get there, but we need to find new suppliers, and that's the main important thing. And then the last thing, that of course we're still in the business to make money, and I think that one of the things that we, when you're making this transformation, is that you need to build the credibility and the trust towards your customers and consumers that you are actually doing this. And I think that's honestly, I think that's the most important thing, because if you can't filter that through, and I don't know if that, I think it's probably going to take a little bit longer time, because they're used to not being sustainable. Now suddenly you're sustainable, and I think, but the most important thing is build that credibility, build that trust towards consumer, and then I'm pretty sure you can do it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Niels. So for you, Mark, the curve is becoming more flatter. It looks like it's becoming increasingly difficult for you to progress. Any words on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think, as Niels said, that one of the biggest challenges is no matter how much you do, you can easily look at it and say you're not doing enough. One of our challenges is prioritization. Like, we're still a small group, and I think if you sat through any of the meetings yesterday or today, you're like, wow, I didn't even think of that. And if you're doing a lot, I mean, for us, we're really trying to hit the things that are going to have the most impact first. We know that 2/3 of our environmental impact is going to come from the materials we use. So that's one of the first things that we attacked, and we're like, okay, we're going to get to 90% of the materials that we use are preferred fibers. But then you're like, oh, are we saving enough water? And oh, are we using the right packaging? And oh, are we using the right truck to get it from the factory to the company? I think also, like Niels said, one of the other challenges that we're facing is education of the customer and technology and the partnerships. So, the customer needs to be aware. I think, if the customer is obsessed for years, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been an obsession over what you put in your body. They're starting to pay a little bit more attention and obsess over what they put on their body. But, getting people to understand that, doing this is really hard. It takes more time, it costs more money, and the base materials cost more to start. So if you're just running a business, you're like, this isn't where you would go. I think running a conscious business, this is the way that you want to do it. But it's really challenging. And we're having a hard time with factories. We're small, and we sometimes joke we're a mosquito. We'll go to a big factory and we'll say, hey, we want full transparency. We want to see your books. We want to know you're not charging overtime. We want to make sure you're taking care of your employees. We want to be able to show up, spot check, see the factory unannounced whenever we want. And oh, by the way, we're going to buy 1,000 units. And they're literally like, shoe fly, shoe. So that's one of the hardest problems that we have, is we genuinely believe in what we're doing, and we want to do the right thing, and we're scaling. But, to a big factory, we get in line behind companies like My Old World. You were replacing 500,000 units. So it's hard to get factories on board. You're asking a lot of them. I think the education of the customer is another challenging piece. And then the technology. We went down, there's amazing technology going on. I mean, all the things people have talked about, spider silk, orange peels, ocean plastic buttons. A lot of that is still just getting finished. And those companies too are looking for partners that are going to come in and make a huge buy to help finance getting their idea to market. And we're first to sign up, and we're quick to jump on and say, hey, we'll use it. But we're not in a position where we can make the 500,000 unit buy to get them to where they need to be.
No, of course not. Thanks a lot, both of you.
One thing I just have to say is,
very briefly.
Oh, we have a little bit of time. No, I think it's when you have these slides with that you can actually save money doing that.
Yeah.
We were laughing a little bit, because it's not where we're in the position. This is a position where you actually pay money to go on this journey. So I think everybody who's going in on this journey and us SME have to accept that at least the savings that you're talking about has to come out at some point, but you need to pay the money and start.
So finally, here at the end, we speak about the future. Sebastian outlined some of the trends of the fashion industry, what the future will look like in 5 years ahead. Niels, briefly, 5 years ahead of time, what will designers look like in 2 sentences? Maybe 3.
We don't think 5 years ahead. As it says, 2020, we want to be where Mark is.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Mark, where will you be?
I think we just want to grow. I mean, I'm very happy with where we are on the curve. for our age, although to Sebastian's point earlier, when you think about the sheer number, you're like, it's almost insulting. So we want to go further up the curve. For us, we just want to get the message out there and get more people to know about us. You know, the one thing I didn't say before, and there's 17 seconds, so, you know, like Niels just said, it's hard and there's an EBITDA drain and there is incurred costs. And I think the theme that you've heard a lot of is sustainability can't be a separate section within the organization. Our success and where we sit on the curve is because sustainability is within the ethos and we say the vibe of the company. And every decision and every part of the organization, merchandising, planning, sustainability is a part of that conversation. And when you step back and you're like, here's merch, here's planning, and here's sustainability, it's never gonna work. So from our success, the success we've had, it's all because sustainability is in the room in every conversation, no matter what it is, including every employee that we hire for the company. Either they believe in what we stand for or they don't. If they don't, they're not right for Outerknown.
Thanks a lot, both of you. Sebastian, will you just give the concluding remarks on the 2018 pulse of the fashion industry?
I guess there's not much to add. The only thing I would like to add is that we heard from many of you in the room that the 2017 Pulse report was helpful for you, for your conversations with CEO, decision makers, and other important stakeholders to convince them that sustainability is no longer a nice-to-have topic in this industry. It has to be part of how companies do their daily business. And we hope that the 2018 report will continue to support this conversation and will ideally again help to increase the pulse of the fashion industry. Because at the end we are all here because we believe in a fashion industry beyond next season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.